secret now. I see dead people.
Welcome to Blondes and Booze. You are about to embark on a journey, one that often leads to more questions than answers. But fear not, your host, Krista, Aaron, and Brandy have the experience, the perseverance, and yes, even the gifts to pull back the veil and allow us to glimpse the other side. They will share not only their experiences, but will introduce you to world-renowned researchers and experiencers to help you find answers in the murky waters of what we call the paranormal. Their bonds with each other reach far beyond friendship, resulting in a pull-no-punches approach to the many subjects they explore. Their goal? To open eyes, hearts, and even minds to what lies on the other side, and the answers residing there.
Hey everybody, welcome.
Welcome everybody.
To our special little Saturday night show, huh?
Yeah, I mean it's nothing special. It's just Dawn. It's just we like to be here.
Yeah, we thought we'd spend our Saturday night with you guys. So anyway, we appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out with us on this Saturday night. I guess it's what, pre-New Year's Eve?
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's New Year's Eve.
That's why. Yeah, well, you know, I'm going to be in the same place tonight as I will be tomorrow night. So
yeah, I was just going to ask you, do you have any big plans?
No. I'll stay home and cuddle up and watch the ball drop on TV, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to just spend some time with family and that's it.
There you go.
You know, it's different than like years ago. I remember like going out and partying and, you know, it was the night to be looking out for. And like now I'd just rather be in my bed under my covers.
Yeah, I know it. I know. It's just like, I don't have it anymore. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you.
So anybody out there that's going to be out tomorrow night, please be careful and get home safe.
Yep. And call someone if you're drinking. For sure. Anyway, we have tonight we just thought we would come on and talk about some of the do's and don'ts of paranormal and ghost hunting and doing it in public places and private cases, the whole 9 yards. Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Catherine.
We do have a guest. It's our very, very dear friend, Kathy, who runs the Ray County Museum, and I'm going to bring her up. She is at the museum tonight by her lonesome.
By her lonesome.
By my loan.
Yeah. So she wasn't doing anything either, but getting ready to go to bed. And I was like, hey, if you want to hop on with Brandy and I, come on.
I know.
Exactly. Just come on. So, you know, I mean, I'm sure there's burning questions out there about how do you feel about staying in that building by yourself? I mean, are you okay to stay there overnight by yourself? And
I am. I'll tell you what, this was a long road, and Krista can corroborate all of this because I didn't ever want to stay here. And this wasn't the plan to be living in this museum at all. And I did everything in my power to not be living here. But my house is actually 50 miles away, so I couldn't drive back and forth, which is why Krista and Ray and we all had that trailer out at the ranch and stayed there for a number of years. And when that ended, because the ranch closed, well, I didn't have any choice. And by that time I thought, well, this isn't bad. You know, they got it all cleaned up in here. To be honest, it's not inside the museum. It's one end of the museum, and it's a separate apartment with a door in between that locks.
Yes.
So that really makes all the difference. They cleaned up the apartment. It's pretty reasonable to stay here, during the work week. Like, I treat my house as a lake house. I go on the week.
Yeah.
And I walk in here, I shut everything off in the museum, tell everyone to stay right where they are. I don't need any visitors. And I close that door and lock it, and all of a sudden I'm in another place. And Krista, you've been here, and so have you, Brandy. You kind of attest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You go in there, and
Yeah.
the rest of the museum is there, so it works okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I play music all night long, so I don't have to hear any bangs and crashes.
Yeah, that does happen. That does happen.
Yeah, because the museum is a pretty active location, but I think everybody that's there now respects your space.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think they do too. And I don't ever have any issues with anything.
Mm-mm.
Now they just like to remind me that they're there, and they'll come out and visit, but it's really kind of calm for the most part. I did have some door rattling a couple of days ago in the morning. Like, I'm here, rattle, 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 rattle. And even Jack, the dog, got up. He's like, what? And of course, there was no wind and nothing. Okay. Hi, guys.
What door was it that was rattling?
All right. Good morning.
The inside front door. Exactly. The inside front door. So not the outside door where the would rattle it, but the inside door. There's a little entryway. And so it doesn't get bothered by wind. And it wasn't windy out. And so I thought somebody was coming in, and Jack is watching, and I get up, and nope, they were just rattling the door.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And like the museum, like you have a lot of other teams that come in and ghost hunts.
I do. We pretty regularly have people. I mean, we'd have them at least twice a month, if not more. I usually only do it twice a month because it's usually just me and Erin Smith. She's always comes up and helps me. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty tiring,
Yeah.
But it is our fundraiser, and neither Erin or I get any money for that. We just get the money that comes in goes to the museum. So yeah, for us. And that was probably my phone.
That was actually Erin Smith on the chat you and I have. She's leaving Dollar General. She's going to hop on and listen.
All right.
That was funny. But
well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, because I do have to say, Erin and I both slept in the chapel, right?
Yeah, I love that.
And the chapel was really super quiet. I mean, I didn't hear nothing in there. Mm-hmm. But what I did do is I did put a recorder out in the hallway. Now, what you have to understand is this place is heated by radiators. So they do tick and they do bang and they do these things. So I'm listening and it's doing all kinds of crazy things. And then all of a sudden you'll hear this little scooting across the floor like somebody's walking through the hallway. And I know darn well that you guys were not running through there.
No.
You wouldn't have to come that far, to use the bathroom or anything like that. So I'm like, why would they even be up?
Right.
No.
And like I said, the only other two people were me and Erin, and we were both sleeping in the chapel. And so I did that. I did find that kind of crazy, but next time I want to use more recording equipment and maybe place it in other places where there's not a radiator and see what we get, because, that just really got me that you could hear like somebody just scooting across the floor, like they're just going about their business in the middle of the night.
Right. And Kathy and I, before she started staying in the museum, we did sleep up there one night in the chapel. And, I personally, we heard some footsteps, that kind of thing, but sleeping in there in that hallway, that's the main thing is the footsteps there. But we slept good.
Right. Right.
There was nothing in the chapel at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
So, and the night we stayed in
Mm-mm.
there, it's funny, we got up that next morning and actually Tony Pickman, he had stayed in there with us, and he stays up, he doesn't sleep, but he was laughing at me and Kathy because he said that we were snoring in sync, and he heard a laugh, like there were one of the ghosts there laughed at us.
Well, painting, I guess.
I don't know.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But I do have another question, Kathy. Now that you're staying in a haunted location on an everyday basis, and you're quite used to that, do you think that you could sleep in another location by yourself?
In the museum? Another location within the museum?
No, another haunted location, a different building that's haunted, that is haunted.
Depends on the building. But I'm not sure about that. No, I'm not positive. But if I had on me, I could. If you guys were with me, I could do that. Myself in a haunted location, a different one. I know this one, for God's sakes. I got salt, I got my horseshoes and all of that. I've made my agreements. Okay, guys, not your location. You guys will have the whole building. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that. No.
I get it.
Oh, yeah. Don't for a second think I'm brave. People tell me all the time, they say, oh, you're so brave. You work in this creepy building. And oh, my God. It's like, oh, no. That has nothing to do with it.
Right.
Not
right.
brave.
Not brave.
I guess for me, I don't know if I'd ever be that brave. I'd like to think that I'm brave in a lot of things and I'll do a lot of stuff, but I don't know if I could go to an unknown location and just sleep there. I don't think I could.
No, unknown location. There's no way. If I wasn't comfortable with this building and what's around it, I've made friends with, the police here within Richmond, as well as the county deputies, because this is county property. And so they make regular drive-bys and whatnot. And because it is a museum and it's pretty isolated, and we do have, a part of society that would like to get in here and help themselves to things for a quick. But I could do it in an unknown location.
Well, here's the thing too. So the museum, it's had previous caretakers, and there's been several that have passed away there.
Oh, yeah.
So, and it seemed like the last few, how do I put this nicely? I know that the last one in particular, she was very obsessed with the museum. And I think the museum and some of the things at the time in there might have contributed to her death. That's my opinion.
It's possible. She was pretty obsessed with it. It was pretty much an anchor in her life.
But she had a lot of the negative stuff in there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of negative stuff, and some of that stuff, well, the negative that we know about's gone. So, but it's not gone when she was here. And
I know that's what really makes it remarkable. For number one, everybody in chat, listen. She sleeps by herself in a haunted location. Number two, she also sleeps in a haunted location where other people have died who were in her same position in the building.
Yeah. Three previous ones.
3 out of the last 5.
3 out of the last 5 have passed away in this building that she now stays in.
You know what?
In her position.
You don't have to make me feel good tonight.
I am just telling you.
Here's the thing. When she first told me that she was going to start staying at the museum, I'm like, oh, hell no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Lost your mind.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's already got this like, well, not now, because I already know what went on and I already know what was taken care of, and I know that it's safe now.
Yeah.
But before, no, absolutely not.
Oh, before, no way. And like I said, seriously, I took this job 5.5 years ago, and Linda, the gal that was here before, and she did pass away here. She was a very close friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't actually want the job. They had to ask me twice. And I had been recommended for it. And so I took it because I felt like the museum was going to have a lot of trouble finding people to do it. It's not a job that just anybody can do, and not because of a certain expertise. It's really more, it doesn't pay very much money, and it's got to be somebody that is really retired and at a point where the money isn't as important, and they can tell you all day long it's a part-time job, but that's the biggest lie ever, because it's not a part-time and there's no way it's a job, but if you want to do it halfway right. And so not just anybody would really want to do this job, and they were having trouble, and I didn't want to see it close or have problems, because it was something that Linda loved so dearly. And it's important to the people in this county. I'm a very community-minded person.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what community I'm involved with, I just have that spirit. I'm all about, keeping communities close and together, and kids and teaching kids and things like that, all that kind of old lady stuff. And so seriously, so, I took it. And I really didn't want it. I thought maybe I would ride my horses even more, but as a result, I've really ridden them a whole lot less since I've been up here, because I do have horses up this way. However, I mean, it's okay. It really is. But I didn't want to live in here, but I didn't really have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I didn't want to spend big dollars on housing outside of the museum. When we were staying at the ranch across the river, and some of you might know Big River Ranch, we did that paranormal roundup with another group there one time, and that was pretty popular. And so, and it's pretty haunted too. But it changed ownership, or changed management, I should say, and they weren't doing what they did before, so I had to leave, and I couldn't go back home and keep this job, because that really just would wear my cars and my pocketbook out driving back and forth. So I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, there you are.
Of it.
Yep, that's cool.
And it does really make me wonder about that ranch, because I know what used to go on there, and was still basically going on when we got closed out of the place.
Mm-hmm.
But can you imagine what's running rampant in there because it has not been in check?
I can't imagine.
Well, that whole area, there's a lot of Civil War history, so there's a lot of ghosts in that area. Not only Kathy's area where she's at, it's actually 2 different counties, but the river's right there. It's only like 8 miles apart.
Yeah.
And the ranch, was right there where the Battle of the Hemp Bales was. So it goes back to Civil War history and all kinds of things. So yeah, there are ghosts out there, and actually at the ranch is where Kathy and I had our Bigfoot encounter that we didn't even know was a Bigfoot encounter, and I've told that I think just the other night on the show. But
you guys definitely had an experience. You did have a Bigfoot experience. You absolutely did.
Yeah.
You're right you're in the right area. I mean, how could you not?
Right.
Right on.
You spend enough time out there.
Yeah. And that's what we do, and we were out there all the time.
Right. So here I am. Okay. Everybody's off doing something. Now, this is at one of the events we held out there, and everybody's off doing something, and it was nighttime. And I'm sitting in the big middle part of this barn, and I'm just sitting there and I'm playing on my phone while everybody's doing their own little thing. And the barn doors are open on the one end, and then the side doors open, and I'm just sitting there and I'm playing on my phone. The next thing you know, I start hearing horse steps, and then I start hearing chains. So as that was going on, another guy walks in and he hears it too. So we go off to the side door where we're trying to hear this is going on, and there's no horses. There's none on that side. There's nothing. No chains blowing. The wind wasn't blowing. Nothing was going on. It's just, you just heard these chains and the hoof steps.
And that was in the event center at the ranch?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that, Kathy?
I was like,
That's crazy. That's
yeah.
very-
Yeah, we heard that. We heard that when that happened, and I was just like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Because there was no chains like hanging like to hook a fence, or there was no chains hanging, period, to make that sound. There was nothing. I went and checked everything. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Because I'm like, I got to debunk this. I'm not sleeping in here if I can't debunk this.
I think you
No.
ended up crashing with Aaron Smith, didn't you?
No, she ended up crashing with me.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Me and my daughter. Yeah, she ended up crashing with us. We slept
Yeah.
fine.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that, guys.
That's okay.
I had an incident with my phone.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So the ranch, when we Kathy and I, like she said, we bought a camper, a fifth wheel camper together, and we started staying out there at the ranch only because we both had horses, and it was a place to go and keep our horses and take care of them. And the guy, the caretaker that was out there, he needed help. The place was a hot mess, and
Yeah.
so he needed help, and so we went out there, and we would hear people would tell us about weird paranormal things that happen out there, and there was a couple that had started staying out there. He was a rodeo clown and his girlfriend.
Excuse me.
And do you want to talk about that, Kathy? About
Yeah, well, we
about the bunk room?
Yeah, that bunk room. I don't
So
know.
the girlfriend, she was feeling things and weird things was happening to her in the bunk room. And then we ended up kind of doing I guess a little mini investigation out there. That was the first time.
That was the first time. And it seemed like there was something in that bunk room, something in the bathroom, the women's bathroom. Remember that?
Yes. Yes.
Something in, at least one something in the main room where you were talking about, in the main part of the barn. The bunk rooms were built inside the barn.
Mm-hmm.
So it's had a big event center, and on one side was a series of bunk rooms and then another one off to another side. But at that time it didn't have that one. And there was definitely things in there, but when that room, I don't know what was in that room, but it was big.
Mm-hmm.
In that second bunk room, it was really big. You couldn't even walk in that door and be okay with it.
Also there was, okay, so let's fast forward. We had done an investigation and picked up some things, but it wasn't really, I don't know. It did. They weren't real active around Kathy and I guess you could say.
Well, they hid. Remember that one?
Right.
We found him in the corner.
Yep, we did. We chased him. We chased him down to the lower barn too, if you remember correctly.
Chased him down to the lower barn.
Mm-hmm. But after that,
because we know they're there.
Yeah, after that, so then we went. Another gal moved in, and she started having some weird things happen to her. And you know who I'm talking about, Kathy? I don't want to say names.
No. Yeah, I do.
Okay. And so she had felt like her body was being taken over by an entity. And Brandy, you were there for this.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to do like a cleansing on the ranch, everything around there, just to make it okay. And that evening, this particular entity was jumping people. It was going from person to person. Do you guys remember that?
I do.
I certainly do.
I do. But we have to start, we kind of have to start at ground zero with this certain female that we're discussing.
Yeah.
Now, you have to understand that I don't think she was
all there.
She wasn't all her
No.
I want to be nice. All her spark plugs were not sparking.
No.
How's that?
True.
So I guess that made her an easy target, because I don't think that this particular thing that attached to her came from there. I think she had brought that in.
Possibly. Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's my opinion. I just never felt anything like that until she started popping around. And you'd always get this feeling around her, like, I don't know, like you didn't want to be around her.
That's true.
You know, I mean, you always got that feeling, and I'm just like, you know, just whatever you're doing, go ahead, you know. And
it wasn't that she wasn't nice. She was nice to people. It wasn't that at all. It's more of just this feeling that you got, and it wasn't really her herself.
Like something was absolutely wrong.
Yeah, like she had some sort of attachment or something.
Yeah, like it had been there. You know, it's like something that she brought there, because I had never felt that feeling there until she arrived. You know what I mean? Until she shows up.
That was intense.
Yes.
And then the one in the other room, the other bunk room with some former tenants, that was intense too. And I really feel like in a lot of ways that was brought in by them too. The energy. And then the one person, that wasn't very good either, you know. So I do think that people bring their energies in, and if you live in a place, it can jump. You know, if you're susceptible, it can jump. And that night in particular with that young lady, it did jump. It jumped 2 people.
It jumped the week.
After her.
It jumped the week. It jumped the ones that one of them, you know, had just had a heart attack, was recovering. It jumped the weaker links.
Right.
People who weren't aware or were very emotionally susceptible to it.
Yeah, and I don't mean weak and mentally for these other people.
No.
You know, they're
right.
physical ailments or something going on with them.
Yeah, because when we say weak, it could mean anything. It could be even physically weak. If you're physically weak, you just don't have the strength to fight things off.
Well,
and in this case,
unaware, you know, an unaware.
You know, in this particular case, you would watch one person, and their face would contort.
It was bizarre.
It didn't even look like that particular person.
No.
Yeah.
You know, and then you'd watch it again later, and then it would jump to somebody else, and you would watch their face completely change. It didn't even look like them. It didn't have the same mannerisms they did. It was somebody completely different standing in front of us.
Yes, it was. And then it's like we would get it out of one person, and then it would jump into another.
Yeah.
And then honestly
watched them. You just watched them.
We watched it. And you know, Kathy and I, you know, she's my partner in crime when we do the negative cases. And so like we'd get it out of one person, and then it would jump into someone else. And it was a hot mess. It was a hot mess that night.
It was. And like I said, it wasn't quick. It was like, once we figured out we've got, okay, person A is settled down, we've got them calm, we've got everything under control with, you know, person A, then all of a sudden, here's a person B we didn't even know.
Yeah.
That we didn't even know this was happening to person B, that, you know, and it was just like, and then we'd have to start again. And then it went to person C. And then, you know, we're starting to all get exhausted.
Yeah. So,
you know,
Be Kind asked, how did you get it out of the person affected? So, you know, honest to God, it's prayer. A lot of it is prayer.
And we do it as a unit.
Yes.
Do it as a unit. And if possible, we'll put our hands on them.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even have to be touching them, though. We just do it as a unit, and we're unified with the thought and the feeling.
Yep.
And the intensity of it.
Yeah.
Right. And I did feel very comfortable to lay my hands on those people, because I'm surrounded by people who know what they're doing. So I felt very comfortable in doing that. I opened myself up to that, to let, that energy flow. But there will be some instances where I'll say, I'm not touching them.
No.
Yeah.
But in that particular area with who we had around, very experienced people, I was okay with touching. But normally I wouldn't.
Well, and with the one girl we had to, because we had to keep her down because she was.
We had to keep her down. Yeah. Because she was very aggressive and violent and, slashing her arms around. And I wouldn't call that a possession, but I would almost call that oppression.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came, whatever it was, it came right out, and it was aggressive to the people around, and to snapping and biting, and honestly, I've never seen anything quite like that. It was really
no. Yeah. That girl did not look the same.
No,
I'm telling you what, she did not look the same.
No.
Yeah. And so what we ended up doing, I mean, seriously, this went on for like an hour where it kept jumping people, and it was running from us. And so the one person that did jump, the one person that did jump, he had just recently had a heart attack, so his physical body was down. Another person that had jumped, he is open and very much sensitive, very much an empath, so he was a prime target, and it jumped him as well.
Yes.
And to make the whole thing short, sorry, I got something in my hair, I guess. But to make everything, here's Erin jumping on with us. There's Erin Smith. She's crooked.
I'm sorry.
She's crooked.
How do I
yourself?
Hi, crooked woman.
Hi.
I don't. There you go.
I'll just have to hold it.
There you go. But
so, Erin, we were just discussing what happened at the ranch when we had that. We were just discussing where the entity that night, because you were there, you ended up sleeping in the same room as me that night.
Yeah.
Where the entity was jumping from one to another to another. We, all three people in that night. And we were just talking about how that they were different. Like once it hit them, they were just like different people. Didn't look like them. They didn't act like them. They were very violent, screaming.
It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen.
I know.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. And
so
Freaky Geek, Erin was just in chat.
I stopped at the store, and then I was driving, so I was listening while I was driving, and now I've unloaded the car and I'm home.
There you go.
Well, you did really well.
Yeah.
You did really well.
So to make a long story short, that night we ended up, I was getting frustrated. I know Kathy was frustrated. Brandy was frustrated. Erin was frustrated because we couldn't just catch it and get it gone. So, and I know this is going to sound bad, but ultimately we did help. I told them, I said, let it jump back into this first original person, and let's just get everybody away from here, and we'll deal with her. And that's exactly what we did.
Remember
the only thing we could do.
She had like superhuman strength when that first started happening.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did.
That was just bizarre.
Her whole face changed and everything. It was just bizarre.
Yeah.
But by the time it got back to her, I was so tired and mad.
No doubt.
I was cussing all obscenities. I was mad.
Yep.
I'm like, how dare you? No, this is not happening. This is not what's going to happen tonight. We had our kids there.
Mm-hmm.
We had our kids.
I mean,
and I'm like,
I even had some of my kids there.
That was just kind of actually hilarious. Kathy's kid was here from out of state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Christmas.
Right. I mean, that just shows you that this can happen at any time. But Krista and I had our young kids there.
Yeah.
We had our young kids. And I'm like, this is not happening. Not on my watch. This thing's gonna be gone. I don't care what happens. I don't know if this takes all night. It's gonna stay right here with her.
A lot of sage was burned that night.
It was. I had choked until I had to walk outside.
I think all 5 of us had a sage stick and was going around with it.
Yeah, we were. Yeah. We absolutely were. You know, thank goodness our children were unaware of what was happening because it did start happening later on in the evening. And our children had gone to bed.
Well, let's back up. When this started, this particular woman was in the office. And I got called into the office because
you were already going to the trailer, and she stopped me as I was going to my trailer.
Yes, to go to bed. And you were the one that called me into the office, Aaron.
Yeah.
And
I grabbed Kathy first and then went and got you.
Yes. And went in there and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And honestly, this went on a couple hours after every bit of it.
I know.
And like I said, it sounds awful what we did, but it worked. And so we ultimately got it back in her and sent her to bed. Yeah. If you remember right, we sent her to bed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we dealt with her in the morning. And you know, here's the thing too. So we can go on and talk a little more like paranormal, the do's and don'ts. So number one, the reason why we didn't take care of it that night, none of us were in the right mind. We were tired.
We weren't even prepared, Krista. You know, we were there. We weren't prepared. It was just a good night. You know, we were out there having a good time. Yep. We were not prepared to walk into this. We were not spiritually prepared.
No, correct. So we ended up, oh, wow, this is weird. Okay. The person, I'm just going to tell you. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay. That's weird. So the person that we're talking about right now actually literally just called Kathy.
And me.
And Aaron.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what that's about.
Wow.
I've got a voicemail. I will I'll be back.
Okay.
That's very strange.
Well, yeah.
It is. Very strange.
It could be watching or something. I don't know.
So anyway,
yeah.
To make the long story short, you know, it just ended up being a bad night. And I think the whole deal of that location, I think everything just built up, and because there was a lot of negativity out there. And you know, and I'm talking all the way back from the Civil War.
Oh yeah.
Where it started.
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of blood was spilled there. You know, the land is full of it.
Yep. Absolutely it is. So
anyway. But see, we weren't even expecting that. We were having fun. We were, you know, just going about our business, you know, We were calling it a night.
Yep.
And, you know, and that comes into our do's and don'ts right there. Our do's and don'ts.
Yep. Absolutely.
But in a situation like that, there is no do's and don'ts. You don't even have a plan.
Yeah.
There is no time to think about it. There's just nothing. You just don't. You go with your gut and what you know.
So getting on to the do's and don'ts, let's talk about that. Because I know Kathy at the museum, like, you don't allow Ouija boards.
No Ouija boards, no pendulums, no mirror things, the scrying of the mirrors, you know, anything that might open portals or bring things in.
Right.
You know, as a building, well, in general, I think it's a bad idea. You know, personally doing that, you don't know what you're letting in. And in a place like this where there's been so much activity, negative, and death for so many years. It's already prone to having its own portals.
Yeah.
So we don't need to have any more. And I don't need anything brought in. There's
Right.
enough things in here already. So.
Yeah, there is enough. There is enough what you have,
Yeah.
Kathy. I believe that if you want to experience something, your building is fabulous.
Yeah,
I feel safe enough to bring my daughter into it.
Mm-hmm.
You felt safe enough to bring your kids, your nephews, everybody in there, because it is nothing like some of these other places that say, hey, there's demons in here, or there's negative energies, or there's, da 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 da. This place is what it is, but it has good memories.
Oh yeah.
You have all that stuff from you have all that stuff from the people around your county giving you that stuff, and I know there's good memories in there. So I mean, it's fun.
It was a 4-H place for a while after the county home closed, and then they had a rest home in here for a while. And then after that, the county took it over. There was a lot of fun things that happened. And even with the residents that were here, it wasn't all bad.
No.
Right.
But with the things that are already here and the items that people have very lovingly brought here, because it's part of their story, I don't want to upset that by getting a bunch of negative things in here, by opening portals. And honestly, most people, myself, I have to include myself in that. I'm no pro at nothing. I don't think there is being a pro at this kind of thing, but
nope.
Yeah.
I agree.
You don't know what you're getting when you open those portals up. You don't know what you're getting. So
Right.
No, you don't.
Right.
No, you don't at all. Unfortunately, you can't be prepared for everything, but you can prepare yourself enough to say, hey, I'm going to back out of this, or okay, I can go through with this.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about, Brandy goes to a lot of different locations. Aaron, Kathy, myself, we've all been to other locations and ghost hunted. Let's talk about some of the do's and don'ts. Like, for instance, my big pet peeve is when you're standing with a bunch of people and they're like, oh, can you touch one of us in here?
No.
What's my name?
Yeah. Why don't you guys?
I'm like, absolutely not. Do not touch me.
Yeah. Why don't you guys explain to them why that is negative?
Well,
because we've talked about energy vamps.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo. You're inviting
it opens
them
you
in.
up. It opens you up. You just don't want to have anything coming in and attaching like that. That's giving them permission.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's giving them permission. You don't want to.
Absolutely. Yep. And when you give something like that permission, you could possibly be opening yourself to something that you can't deal with. And
Yeah.
somebody like me and Kathy have to come take care of it.
No, thank you. But
thank goodness for great friends.
No, thank you.
We don't want to have to help.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, because honestly, if they want to touch you, they would do it. Trust me. They will do it you don't need to tell them they can, because they'll do it anyway. I've had my hair pulled, jackets pulled, shirts pulled, things pulled out of my pockets, everything. So you don't need to invite them to do it.
Yeah.
Because they'll do it if they want to.
Right. And then another thing, like, you never want to get personal. So even saying, we've heard people say, can you name someone's name in here? No, you don't want to put that out there, because that's, again, you're getting personal. If you want to talk to something through, one of the spirit boxes or something, that's fine, but it's about them. It's not about you or anybody else in that room.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Ask them about them. Ask them about where they came, what their name is, or any various things, but not you or the people with you.
Right. Like we was doing the spirit box when the rodeo clown was there, and it said his real name 3 times, and he ran out of the museum.
And
he should have run out of the museum.
Yep.
He did.
Right.
He did.
And
because
not only that, none of
I'll
us
say
knew his real name. That's the scary part. We didn't
right. And I'll say this a thousand times. They already know who you are when you walk in the building. There's no use in telling. You don't have to open up that part of you to them. You don't have to give up that information to them. They already know.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
I mean, it's not like they just tune in when you're asking them questions. They're listening to you all day and all night. They're hearing you. And you call each other. Hey, I'll be like, hey, Krista. Da, da, da. They already know that's Krista.
Yeah.
They already know that's Kathy. That's Aaron. You don't have to ask that.
Yeah. And you know what? Be kind. You're right. She says, sounds like a lot of reasons to be very picky about what team you go out with. That is true, because if you go with the wrong person, and they may not mean to put you in harm's way, but they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads into the whole sort of taunting thing too. You know,
Right.
That's so disrespectful, and that, you know, they don't want to be taunted like that anymore than you on it. And it's just
there are
opening it up.
There are very few times that you need to provoke. Very few times. You don't need to do it. You know, like I can only think of one, is when you're actually trying to do away with something,
right,
and get rid of it, is the only time that you would taunt something to make itself known. Otherwise, just a regular ghost hunt, going in places, there's no reason to taunt anything at all.
No. And you know what? I like Brandy's line of questioning that she does, because, you know, she'll ask them, Brandy, why don't you tell them some of the questions that you asked the ghost?
Do you like ice cream?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, I like ice cream. Do you like peanut butter and jelly? If I think it's a female, you know, if something's coming to me as a female, I'd be like, well, do you like flats or high heels? You know, do you like beads, or do you like pearls, or do you like diamonds? You know, it's just questions like that to make them feel like they're still here with us in our world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things that'll get them talking, because I have gotten so many EVPs while I have been just having a normal conversation with somebody standing next to me, and they're joining in like they want to talk too.
Yeah.
So why would I ask them, do you know what year it is?
Right.
You know, I may ask them if they're male or female if I'm not getting anything. You know, I might ask them if they're male or female, because I want to get a clue on what side to go, because sometimes they don't project anything. You can't feel anything.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, okay. But yeah, I just ask them off the wall questions, just whatever. Yeah. It's like, you know, I'll see crayons and I'll pick up the crayons. And I'm like, what's your favorite color? You know, you know, what's your favorite coloring book, or what kind of flowers do you like? Or, you know, and the guys are just, do you like to wear a tie, or do you like to wear a t-shirt, or do you like to wear wristwatch or a pocket watch? You know, there's all kinds of different things to determine what year we're dealing with, other than, do you know what year it is, or what year did you die?
Right. And also,
you can basically ask them things about themselves that'll clue you in to what era you're dealing with.
Yep. Felicia Humphrey asks, has anyone saw a shadow man with a hat on? I'll let you guys answer.
I have not. I have seen one shadow figure, and that was at the Hall of Waters in Excelsior Springs, where I actually took swimming lessons when I was a little girl. And it was a child, and it was running across the side of the pool, down on the lower level, the pool level. But that's the only shadow person I've ever seen.
I've seen one shadow figure here, but there was no particular outline. There was nothing with a hat on at all. And it just walked in front of one of the mannequins, blocked that mannequin out, and went in the wall. Okay. See you later.
Yeah. Brandy, have you?
I can tell you this. I've seen a lot of shadow people. I've seen a lot of shadow people, but I have not seen one that's wearing a hat.
Right.
Ever.
I take that back. I have seen another one, and it was the one at the ranch. I was sitting out on the front stoop, and Kathy had gone into the building for a minute, and I saw one that walked up like it was at the entryway on the overhang of the entryway. It was just on the other side of that, and then walked over to where that tree stump was. And as soon as as soon as Kathy came outside, what was it I said? Are you
Go over and
open?
open yourself up and do
Yeah,
those,
open yourself up. Open yourself up.
do that stuff.
Yeah. Because that was still, new to me. That was just stuff that I wasn't used to, and it was she could feel it, and
was
she
very
followed
strong.
it. He was zigzagging.
Yeah.
It did
Yeah.
not want me around.
Well,
it.
and that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me because you were on a property that battles had been fought.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me to see shadow people out there everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed. So Bristol makes a good point too. Says at Blondes and Booze podcast, the one that bothers me the most is the person who says, use my energy. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Wholeheartedly
Amen. I'm
agree
like,
with
don't
that.
touch me.
No,
Yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
don't have any
Don't touch me.
give to anybody. I need all I got, but I want again. You know,
I'm like, I just tell them, look, I've got a whole bunch of equipment here. Suck the batteries up. I've got plenty. You take that. You know. And they do a lot. I have to say they do a lot, especially out of my flashlights and my telephone, and they'll suck the life out of those real quick,
Yeah.
But I would never say you can use my energy, because it's kind of like saying, go ahead and take what you need, but how much do you think they need?
that's a bad idea.
Mhm.
That's a horrible idea. Yeah, because they could just wipe you right out, and next thing you know, 10 minutes later, you're like, I gotta go to bed. I can't stay awake no more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But they've
That's when
already
you know
done
what
followed
happened.
home.
I don't think people intentionally do that either with the understanding. You know, I think that just comes from not understanding what can really happen with that.
Yeah.
You know, people
Yeah.
just haven't, been educated to.
Well, Moon at Noon asked the question, what about the ones that know your name and call out on you? So Moon, that's a whole different ballgame, because you didn't ask the question and open yourself up. So if you have a ghost box going and you hear your name being called, which I have more than once,
Oh,
that's not,
Yeah.
I didn't invite it to say my name. So there's a
No.
difference there. And that does happen. That is common. A lot of times when a ghost box is running, they do say people who is in the room's names.
Yeah.
For
they
sure.
do. Yeah, and I've had that
For
a number.
sure.
Yeah.
And real quick shout out to Chris Phoenix, apology accepted. We'll just leave it at that. Anyway, so, I got dogs in here that aren't liking each other right now, but
My animals are all on the quiet side. They're just laying there sleeping the way I want them.
you're so lucky. You're so lucky. But so whenever like you guys, we go to like private locations, we do, people's homes. There's a lot of do's and don'ts that you don't want to do at a private home that, it's okay to do at a location that you're paying to ghost hunt.
Yeah.
Would you guys agree with that?
I would
Yeah.
agree.
Agreed.
Yeah. And so I put a list out on Facebook, and I think I even shared it on our YouTube channel. Just some of the things that over the years that we've gathered when you do go to private homes, because these people, when they call you, they're scared. They are genuinely scared, and they're looking for help in any way that they can get it. And a lot of them have reached out to local churches already, or they've reached out to a team who wants to charge them a bunch of money. And let's talk about that. So one of the things, if anybody that's listening ever needs paranormal type help, it's not, when we're doing that, we're not doing it to get a spook or a scare. We are genuinely there in your home to help you.
To help.
So we don't.
Hey, Krista,
Yes.
I hate to stop you. I hate to stop you right there, but we need to do our 10-second break, and then we can continue.
Okay,
Ready?
do our BART break. Let's do our BART break. Hold on. Cut.
All done.
All right, all done. Break's done.
All breaks over. Okay, let's go.
We're gonna start calling them BART breaks because BART was the one.
The
that
BART
started
breaks.
that. Yeah,
I
the BART
wasn't
breaks.
sure you're saying bark like a dog. I'm like, okay, do I bark now?
It's quick and
So-
easy. Get them out. It's just like,
Yeah.
We're done.
So if anybody's got
I'm going to get me one of those little slap clicker thingies.
there you go.
Good.
If anybody's got to use the restroom or go get a drink, just mute yourself and black yourself out and go. No big deal.
I gotta go get my glasses because I can't see anything.
You go
Well, go
right
get your
ahead,
glasses.
sister.
That's
Well,
fine.
I'll be
You go
back.
right ahead. But
All
but
right.
anyway, so go into these people's homes and there's teams out there that I know that charge money. And I don't agree with that. And I will tell you, if you can't afford your gas to get to someone's house, then you don't need to go. You don't need to be in there doing this. And, you know, I hear people say, oh, I just want my gas money back or whatever. No. Do you know how many times we have eaten gas money? Am I right?
Oh my gosh.
Every time.
The amount
Every
of
time.
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's I'm telling y'all, if you need help, avoid a group of people that want to charge you money, because you know what? They're not there to help you. They're in there for themselves. And so that's one thing that I can't, that's my
Okay.
biggest paranormal pet peeve.
Well, let's just do this. Let's just do this. Let's put this out to everybody listening, who will listening, everybody in chat. If you have a problem and don't know where to go, send us an email. We can see if we can get somebody close and reputable to you to help you.
Mhm.
Because, you know, of course, Krista and I can't afford to travel all over the United States for these type of things, but we can find a group that's reputable, close to you, that could help.
Yeah.
So if you have any problems, just send us an email and we'll see what we can get for you, get somebody in contact with you.
Yep.
You know, a lot of
Yep.
times I've noticed that these groups, they'll have a website or a Facebook page. They'll tell you right up front if they don't charge. They won't necessarily tell you if they do, but they'll tell you right up front that they won't charge to do private investigation for you to come and investigate. But there's a lot of groups out there that'll do that for you if you just do a little research on them.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So-
absolutely. And also another thing is that so when you're in a private home, never ever ever disclose the client's location ever.
Mm-mm.
You can say the town, but never ever their location. That is, to me, invasion of privacy. And I watch a lot of YouTube, I'm telling you guys, and I watch a lot of teams that do private cases, and he's doing everything that he's not supposed to do.
Yeah.
One particular channel, and he drives me nuts.
Oh yeah. Client confidentiality is the number one rule.
Yep,
Right.
absolutely. And a lot of times, we always ask people, can we talk about this or whatever? And most of the time they'll let you, but there's some that don't want you to, and we won't. I mean, I have done cases I've never talked about because the client did not want us to.
Absolutely.
So, and another thing, every paranormal team has shirts, has their logos and whatever on shirts. When you go to a private case, you never, ever, ever wear your team logo shirts, because
No.
that draws attention to yourself and your client might not have told their neighbors.
That's exactly right. They may not want people in the house that, the family members that maybe they're waiting for some of these people to leave or something, don't want to do it.
Yeah. So that's a big no.
Yeah.
I always show up with a backpack like I'm staying the night.
Right. Yeah. And that's okay, because that's what it looks like. They don't know that you're not part of their family or whatever.
Friends coming to just visit and hang out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, if you have how we always did it, like a couple members of the team would go do a walkthrough at the client's house. And then, you take your EMF and you check all areas of the house, and you check for possible real reasons, not paranormal, of why the EMF is high. You log all of that stuff, and you do that through a walkthrough. And then you make an appointment to go back and do an investigation.
And usually you kind of interview people too. You get to know them a little bit and find out about their background and whatnot, because a lot of times it's things that they have going on in their personal life that is really more of a problem than maybe what's even in the house.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell, you know. I mean, we've been those too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
And I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head. Oh, psychic mediums. That's a big one. A lot of teams have psychic mediums on their team. And you never, ever, ever want to disclose to your psychic medium the address to the place, or let them talk to the homeowners or anybody in the house until after they have done their walkthroughs and after they get all of their information. And how we always did it, the psychic medium walks around with somebody, another member of the team, with a notebook. They write down everything that they are picking up, everything. And you never, ever, ever go back to your client right then and there. Oh, psychic medium picked this up or that up. You don't do that. Because some psychic mediums might pick up on something negative, and you don't want to scare your client. Number one, first and foremost, they're already scared. So you don't want to scare them anymore. So the psychic medium thing, it not only validates your psychic medium, but it also validates what the homeowner has experienced if they pick up on things. Am I making sense?
100%.
So that's a big thing, because I see a lot of teams take psychic mediums there and just do a walkthrough and sit down with the family. No.
Yeah.
No. So that's a big thing. Can you guys think of more things?
Well, yeah, I mean, best rule of thumb for me is when you do the walkthrough, you can do that with the family if they choose to do that. Take your readings and everything, find your baseline for the house. But doing the main investigation, I recommend not having a single family member in the house. If they can take animals, if animals are in the house, get them out of the house, because they can produce false readings, you know, in sounds and things like that. Because you don't know what their animal sounds like or what sounds it makes, so that could be, you know, a hindrance. But my thing is make sure when you're doing the main investigation that it's only you and your other teammates. That's it. Don't have them in the house, because anything that you say, the client can take for something totally like big, like super big, when we find it just minimal. Like it's just a something or other, like, oh, well, they've got this, or I see a little shadow, or, you know, whatever. If we're not, we'll say it out loud to ourselves, and because it's not that big of a deal, you know. But every time, as we know, when we say something, oh, well, there is a little shadow I see, somebody say it's a demon.
Right.
Well, there's
you know, you got to make sure of your,
you know, there's so much of that stuff out there. And if people are watching shows and things like that, you know, they just think everything's a demon. And it's like, no. Very, very little of that is ever a demon. Very, very little of it.
right.
There might be something there that's angry or depressed or unhappy, you know, but no. And so that just gets people going a lot of times, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And what
Also,
a lot of people don't understand is when we go in for this investigation, we're trying to figure out what we're dealing with, if there's something to deal with. Now, if there's something to deal with, if it's just something simple, well, we can get it out pretty simple. That's what we're doing. We're just going in, gauging what we're dealing with. It's not like we're trying to find out if your house is haunted. We're just trying to find out what's going wrong, if it is paranormal, and our best way to get rid of it.
Absolutely. And then another thing, never go alone. Never send one person to do a walkthrough. Always send a couple. And if you're a team of women, take a man with you. Don't go alone as women.
I would never go alone, let alone with two women.
Well, so there was a case that it was over in the Kansas City area. Actually, I think it was like Independence area that Aaron and Kathy and myself were a part of. And if you remember, guys, we walked in there and there were guns sitting out on the bed.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I don't get that one. That's the first
Yep.
popped in my head
It-
when we started talking about it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
one.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
things like that. You really have to be aware of your surroundings as
Yeah.
well. Because I believe we asked them to put the guns up.
Yes. Yes. And they were extremely nice people,
Mhm.
but
Yes.
you never know what might trigger somebody because they were also pretty unhappy people. If I remember, they were, there was a lot of family dysfunction, a lot of
Yes.
Mhm.
tension going on. And it was a real bad atmosphere in general.
Well,
just,
Yeah.
bad. So
I guess you have to talk to the client in depth over the phone first, because you want to get a read on
I think we
how they reply to your questions.
Mhm.
Because there are times where, substance abuse may be a thing. And you have to just,
Yeah. We also, like them to fill out questionnaire, and our questions on the questionnaire are very personal. And my big thing, and Brandy and Kathy and Aaron can all attest, we are not there to judge you as a person
Nope.
or where you live or how much money you have.
Nope.
We are literally there to help you.
Mhm.
So, and I always tell them that because some of the questions are very personal, like, are they on prescription drugs? Do they do drugs?
Mhm.
Things like that are, a lot of people,
Have there been
what faith are you?
or deaths? Has there been trouble with children? I mean, all kinds of things like that.
Right. Because when we're going in, there are so many number of things that it doesn't necessarily mean it's 100% ghost causing the problems.
Right.
And a lot of just prescription drugs can cause people to hallucinate.
Mhm.
So we're not saying that you're not seeing something, but it kind of gives us an idea of what maybe it could be.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's a big thing for us.
Yeah,
What
because
else, girls?
people, when you talk to them on the phone or when they fill out a questionnaire, they can tell you everything that they think you want to hear.
Yeah.
When you walk in that door, you're going to get a whole nother picture of stuff, and you really kind of have to go gut on that too.
Yes.
It isn't always what they tell you it is. And
Yes. That's very true. Very true. Chris Phoenix makes a good point here, and this is true. Once you face a demon, you're scarred for life. Dealing with the mischievous ghost or even poltergeist is completely different.
exactly
Absolutely 100% true.
100%.
Yep.
Guard is
Very, very true. And we Kathy and I know firsthand, and had we known that statement before we did our first demonic case, I'm not so sure we would have jumped into it, honestly.
and yeah, no, I know we wouldn't have.
Right.
Absolutely not. I was like, dang, what did I do?
Yeah. Yep. What else, girls? What's
Okay, I'm totally changing the subject for a minute. So I'm on my phone and the screens are little itty bitty bitty. And Krista, the cow's nose looks like E.T.
Oh, okay.
Can anybody else see that? Because it's just a little itty bitty picture on mine. And from this, I'm like going, the heck's on her wall? And then I was like, it's the cow. And I'm like, but why does it look like
there it
E.T.?
is.
But from the angle you had it, see, can you see it?
no.
I'll show you one more time. There he is.
No, I know, but it's just the way that you had the nose angled.
Right.
It looks like E.T.'s head. I'm not on drugs. I'm not on drugs.
Right. Right.
A face in the crowd.
And
said,
a face in the crowd, yes. She can
Can you talk about the
definitely
demon
talk
case?
about that, because it is a
So
Pretty intense.
I guess which one? Well, I guess Kathy, we can talk about the one. I've talked about it. Maybe they can get it from your perspective.
talk about the BTK.
The BTK one.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was one of those don't judge when you roll up onto a place.
Yes.
We came up to this house, and of course it's the smallest, rattiest little house on the whole block. But the people were 100% nice. They could not have been nicer. And they were so glad to have somebody to come and try to help them and to try to figure out what that was going on with them. Was it a ghost? What was happening? You know, what was happening in their world? And that really was demonic. It was small, kind of a minor thing comparatively, so I understand in retrospect, but it was pretty intense, you know.
So do you want to talk about, the lady was she was an ex-prostitute.
Yes.
And he had done, I believe it was 27 years in prison for murder. He was a member of that MS-13 gang.
But you know, he tried to leave it, and I think they let him. But I mean, he's probably still out on the string, because I don't think they ever really let you go. But he was trying really hard to live a reformed life, and she was a long time off the streets, and they were, you know, they had their mom living there too. It was her mom, wasn't it?
Yes, her mom was there.
Yeah, and she had some mild dementia going on. Very sweet lady.
Mm-hmm.
A small house, and they were trying their best to keep things together. You know, they just had something that was really going on and causing a lot of depression and a lot of upset, and it was bad. When you went in the house, you could feel it. You could just
And when we first went there, so what happens when we go with this particular person? He's the one that kind of brought us into the dark side on that type of thing, because we do help him do the negative type cases. So that particular night, he how we always do it, Kathy and I, we go around and we find them, because the true demonic hide from this particular person.
Yeah, they do. They run from him. About everything runs from him, because they don't want to confront him, you know. And so we went around and we started taking readings, and we honestly didn't find anything. We were in the back room. We had EMF things. We had those temperature things, you know, and everything. And there was nothing. There was just nothing.
Nothing at all.
House. It was depressing, but I think that could very well have been my own.
Well, where'd Kathy go?
Her phone died. Well, no, it says she's still there, though.
Yeah, I don't know where she went.
She's in the dark.
I'm here.
There she is. She's back. She's back.
Somebody called. Someone called me.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, so what was I saying? Anyhow, yeah, so we decided to go outside.
You and I.
There was another building in the back. And I think even that person, our friend, suggested maybe we could go outside. So we did. We walked outside, and we're kind of cruising around looking, and we're walking towards the back. And we got close up to the back thinking that, okay, you know, here's this, it's a good size kind of a barn, shed-like barn, but it was bigger than a shed, and it was old. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we got close, that sucker came right out at us. Do you remember that?
Oh, I do remember that. I remember that very well.
Way. You know, people, when it happens at the same time to both people, and you know you're being attacked by something, and it comes at you, that's a real deal. I'm sorry. And so we turned around. We told it to stay away. We didn't want to act scared. We were scared to death.
But you can't show fear. That's one of the things. You cannot show fear.
And we just slowly walked back and said, you stay away, leave us alone. But it was right there following us, trying to get up to us. Yeah. And I'm sure if it really wanted us, it could have. I think it was trying to make us stay away. So I went in and just merrily popped my head in the door and said, would you mind coming out here for just a moment? And so he came out, and we're like, ah. Yeah. That. So we found him. It was hiding.
Yeah.
But he was hiding. But we found it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then our friend, he went in. Well, he had told Kathy and I that he was picking up something about the BTK killer.
Yeah.
And Kathy and I were like, he's still alive. He's in prison. I don't know why you're picking up on him. You know, it made no sense to us at this time, because at this time we did not know that she used to be a prostitute.
No, we didn't know any of that.
No.
We didn't know any of that. When we didn't
Correct.
know him in the prison, the whole bit, we did not know any of that.
No.
All we know is they made us dinner and they were so nice.
Yeah, they were very nice people.
Generous people.
Yes. And then, you know, we went inside, and then our friend, he asked her, he said, I don't know why, but I'm picking up on the BTK killer. And she broke down. Do you remember that?
I do remember. She broke down completely.
Yes.
And that's when she fessed up. And I think she, you know, she was very ashamed and thought we would judge her over this. It's like, no, we're not judging anybody. There's nothing,
Right.
you know. And she told us this story. We're like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, come to find out that she had been a prostitute in Wichita, Kansas, and she was one of the only survivors, if I remember correctly, of the BTK killer.
She got away from him.
Yep, she got away from him. And so that said a lot right there, you know, I mean, because his background, you know, with gangs and murder, and then hers with, you know, prostitution and the whole 9 yards. I mean, and then this had been many years before this happened. You know, I mean, he was in prison. I want to say it was like 27 years, he told us.
A long time. It was a very long time.
Yes. So that's when they finally came clean and told us about their past.
Yeah. And I think that they didn't think that something would pick up on that and it'd have to come out. You know, I think they were really shocked about it.
Yeah.
But it was feeding on you. You were the ones it was coming and attaching to.
Yep.
Because of where you've been and what you've done, you know.
Yeah. And their house was very, very dark and
extremely dark,
very oppressive. Just and the guy was a big guy. He was probably 6'5" and 350.
Oh
Easy.
God, yes. Very large and intimidating looking.
Yes. And he had told us how he was thrown across the room.
That's right. I remember that.
Yep. And so, you know, Casper, if you have Casper in your house, Casper's not going to throw a refrigerator or a 350-pound man across the room. So that was kind of a red flag. You know, at the time when we were going, we knew of this, that had happened, but we weren't thinking demonic yet. There's things, you know, we got to figure out first. But then our friend, there was a door in the back and there was a long hallway. And our friend told me to stand right there by the living room, and he went into the back.
That's
do you remember
right.
this, Kathy?
I do remember it. Yep.
And what did he do?
He basically, was it that he was pushing it to us, or we were pushing?
He was calling it in.
He was calling it in, but we were blocking it or something.
Yep. And when he said, I remember him telling me.
You have better than I do.
I remember him telling me, don't show any fear. You stand there and you hold your ground. And I got to tell you, people, you know, when you do any cases like this, you are scared to death.
That's the most scared I've probably ever been.
Yes, but you can't show that fear.
No.
So it literally.
It was unlike anything I ever felt before.
Right. After him coaxing it in, I felt it. I felt the breath on my face. That's how close it was. And then our friend told me to move out of the way. I did. And he went straight to the woman and grabbed her hand. If you remember right, grabbed her hand.
We all
grabbed. Do you want to talk about that? What we witnessed then?
Oh, geez. Well, we all grabbed hands and we started praying, and we started praying really hard, saying the Lord's Prayer and whatnot. And you could just see it was, yeah.
Do you want to talk about what you've seen appear on our friend?
Blood blood appeared on our friend, and a burned in cross on his hand.
Mhm. It was literally, it was like
Burned.
invisible razor blades was
Mhm.
slashing him.
Mhm.
And it was on his head, his chest, his arms. It was definitely spiritual warfare going on. And at the same time, as Kathy said, we were praying. We were saying the Lord's Prayer.
Praying
And that's a powerful
hard,
prayer,
and
people.
he wasn't there with us. Our friend was not there with us. He was off
In another place.
in another place fighting. And boy, that was seriously intense. And when
Yeah.
it left, it was just unbelievable. Just the relief, and it just collapsed. It was just something else. I mean,
Yeah. It was. And after that happened, you know, when our friend came to, you know, the whole room, when they say the room gets lighter, it does.
it was unbelievable. It
Mhm.
was just a whole it was completely different. It was just
Yeah.
completely different. It was like somebody had opened the blinds and nothing had changed, but it was just like somebody had opened the blinds. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yep. It's a true
I
story.
would never have believed it if I hadn't gone through that.
Yep.
You know,
it's
but
very
having
true.
gone through that, like was mentioned before, you know, I mean, you're scarred, you're marked is what you are. And so that's kind of what led us into doing what we've done since, as far as learning and whatnot, because you need to, if you do get involved in something like that, you have to know how to protect yourself and your family, because you're always going to be vulnerable for that after.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. And that's very true. That's why, like Brandy and Aaron both, they both prefer not to do, you know, the negative, real negative cases.
Nope.
That
No.
yeah,
could possibly be the D word, you know.
Mhm.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
have been on
I
cases
don't
with
blame them.
you when we've witnessed him getting scratched and whatnot. I have witnessed that, and that's some
Yeah.
freaky stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And that night, I got to tell you though, that whole room changed, as I said, and we suggested to her to open up her curtains and let sunlight in. And you know, she went on to be a contestant on American Idol. She did not make it, but she went on to be a contestant. And the thing was, that woman wouldn't even leave her house. Do you remember that,
No,
Kathy?
she wouldn't leave her house. She couldn't. She was so depressed and so oppressed. You know,
Yes.
really, she was being oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was, oh yeah. And she was so completely different afterwards. She had broken, she was crying and had been sweating and everything. And when she was done, she was just so exhausted and happy, relaxed, you know.
Yeah. And they both were. They were both two totally different people when we left.
They really were. And he was
Mhm.
so kind.
Yeah. And you know, and that's what it's about for, I know, the four of us, you know, it's about helping people, and that just happened to be an extreme case. But even the ones that you know, there's a Casper there, that's not a negative, you know, we're all about helping people, and that's how we got started even doing these shows, Brandy and I, you know.
Yeah, because that is what it's all about, you know, is to help people with things they don't understand and things that we don't necessarily understand ourselves, you know, but you know, if we can help in some way,
Right.
that's what it's about, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I tell you what, that was some pretty scary stuff that we did, you know.
Yeah, it was. We were all like, oh,
Yeah.
oh no, especially you and me. It was like, oh my God, what have we done?
Like, what the heck did we just do? Wow, you know. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. That was one of the more extreme cases I've done.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very kind. You remember he had given us the
Hawk feathers
that he had blessed, and then told us how to, you know, what each of the directions were and what they stood for, and talked about the prayers to the directions and stuff, which of course I have a memory of nothing really. But I have the hawk feather, and it's been given to me by a native, so I'm going to tell him that if I get in trouble. But I use that whenever I'm doing any cleansing thing, because to me, that has special powers to it. It's been blessed.
Yep.
Been blessed.
Northern California Cubs fan asks, how do you keep from showing fear in that situation? I got to tell you, really, honestly, just don't, because like for me, like my God is bigger than anything that we're dealing with. And if you know that in your heart, you don't show the fear.
And that's another thing, when Brandy was asking me if I felt scared being out here, this is the protection that I have around me. I'm protected, and it cannot get to me. It's not going to get to me. I'm very strong in the faith that I have, and it's not going to get to me. So what is in here might rattle things and do stuff like that, but I'm not going to be hurt. Now, I can't say that about the clowns who are trying to break in.
That's what I was going to say. It's the humans I'm afraid of.
But the rest of it, that my faith is the protector. And if I get to a situation where I'm frightened by something, I'll say, not today. I'm protected, not today.
Yep.
And I make sure that I'm all protected when I go into a place like that. And we all did our protections and grounding and everything before we even went in there. So it is just a matter of kind of hanging on to your lifeboat and knowing that you have your protections and that it can't hurt you unless you allow it to. They can't come into you and do anything to you unless you give it license to do that.
Yep, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
So, Brandy, what do you carry when you go to out ghost hunting? What is your thing for protection?
I normally don't walk in with anything. But I tell you what, I am protected when I'm in the vehicle before I go in. I do all of that. My car is protected. Now, when I leave and I go back out to my car, everything leaves. Whatever's there goes, because my car is like my safe space. I have crystals in there. I have crosses in there. I have holy water in there. I have oils in there. I have everything in my car. So it's kind of like I put myself in a bubble when I leave a location. I do sometimes carry like quartz or amethyst, tourmaline. Mostly, I guess that would be mostly it for me. I don't like to overwhelm myself when going into a location, because that kind of like, I want to say it dulls my feelings, or I'm not as I guess open to receiving anything or any feelings or any type of communication if I'm too weighed down. So I am very careful. But like I said, when I go back out to my vehicle to leave, it ain't going. It isn't going to make it. And we talk about that a lot, is because I always make sure that my vehicle is ready to go. When I go anywhere, it is ready to go.
Right.
But that one day when I was going to work, I was not ready to go. I wasn't experiencing that. So I'm always carrying something with me now when I go anywhere. It's always there. And, I feel like I had a spirit of some sort hop on board when I'm driving to work one day. And I've been experiencing things since then. And like I said, I just wasn't prepared. I wasn't spiritually ready for that. Like I'm on my way to work. It's early in the morning. You've got 1,000 things going through your head that you need to get done today. Okay, we got to go to work, and then I have to do this on my lunch break, and then after work I got to stop by the store and I have to pick up milk, and I got to do this, this, and this. And I'm going through this in the morning and didn't even realize what was happening.
Yeah.
So it is always for me. This is just for me. Now, it doesn't work for everybody, but for me now, my car is always protected. So whenever I go anywhere to and from, I'm good.
What about you, Aaron?
I have a crucifix that I keep in my pocket, and I have a bag of crystals that I keep in my pocket. I can't remember what they're all called. I know I've got tourmaline, white quartz. I can't remember what they all are. It's a mixture.
Yeah. Little Patty has a question for Brandy.
Yeah.
Do you bless or cleanse the crystals?
I cleanse my crystals every time, all the time. My house, which I'll show you right here, I have selenite all through my house. Okay, so I always keep my house charged, and you know, I try to keep that good. With my crystals, I always put them out in the moonlight when we have a full moon. If I have crystals that have been through, you know, what I would say bad negative energy, I will take them outside. I will bury them in the ground and leave them in the ground for 24 hours before I pull them out. If certain crystals, I will wash in salt water. And then if need be, I will cleanse them with sage. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, we all go in and also let's touch briefly before we head out of here. Let's touch briefly on intention, because if everybody just talked about something different, they take and they use for their protection. It's all about your intention.
100%. 100%, because it can be anything. It's your intention that you put into that item. Or like Brandy says, she doesn't have it, but she still has her intention and she still has that protection.
I have my spiritual armor on when I walk into a place. Absolutely.
That's the most important one right there. And the only thing that an item is a remembrance of that protection. So, you know, a lot of times people will take something, a crucifix, a stone, can be a penny, a rock of any kind, you know, and that's what keeps them grounded and remind they have the protection. You know, that's what that is.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, I'm not going to lie. Now, I've walked out of places where I have walked outside, took my shoes and socks off, put them in the grass and on, you know, flat on the ground. And then I'll light me some sage and I'll start saging myself from the bottom of my feet all the way up. I mean, I have walked out of those places. So, I mean, it's, you know, you've got to be diligent in whatever higher power you believe in. You have to be diligent. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys have any final closing thoughts? Anybody?
Well, I do. You know, I like to ghost hunt and I like to do it for fun. And I like to go see all the places that everybody talks about and this, that, and the other. But I'm always protected.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm always protected when I go to those places. Absolutely. I mean, go have fun, explore, do it. You know, if that's your thing, do it. But just make sure you protect yourself. Stay diligent.
Yep. Absolutely.
Agreed.
But don't ghost hunt your house. Not where you
Oh gosh, no. No.
live.
True story. You
I don't have to.
Kathy.
No, you don't.
I don't have to. I just watch it happen. I'm just like, okay,
I know.
there it is.
I don't go look for them. I'll stay away with the team.
Yeah. Yep. Real quick before we jump out of here, let's talk real quick briefly, Brandy, on the Alabama Bigfoot Conference. Real quick.
Yes, absolutely. You know, things are lining up really quick. I mean, it's going to be here before you know it. You know, tickets are on sale right now for $30 online, and they'll be $35 at the door. But we're going to have a great speaker lineup: Barton, Nunnelly, Daryl Denton, Martin Groves, Jason McLean, Greg Ogles, and Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and of course the Blondes and the Booze. You can get your tickets at BamaBigfootConference.com. And that's on Saturday. On Friday night, we are having not a dinner. It's a meet and greet type of thing, but this is so casual. All you have to do is tell us you're coming and how many people are coming. You pay for your dinner. You can sit and talk with us. No problem. There's no other thing you have to do right there. So just let us know. You can give us an email.
Yep, absolutely. And real quick, I want to thank Catherine Gay, Northern California Cubs fan, Gary Reed, and then Inhumanoids with Barton Nunnelly. Thank you all for the super chats.
Thank
We
you.
definitely
Thank you.
appreciate each and every one of you guys. And yeah, Happy New Year. Do you guys have New Year's resolutions?
Yes.
What is
Yes,
it?
I do.
Can you
Yes, I
talk
do.
about it? Can you tell?
Yeah, mine is actually, my first one, of course, is I've gained a lot of pounds in the last few months. And, of course, I want to get them off and I want to get healthy too. So my resolution is to get healthy. And Krista, I know that yours and mine, we have set it together, is we're going to leave everything in 2023. Anything that's negative or, grudges or all, we're just going to leave it. It's all going to stay behind us and we're going to start fresh.
Yes.
Absolutely. 100%. And I'm going to ride my horses more.
Absolutely. Oh my
There you go.
gosh.
Ride
Does
them.
Kathy have a cat? Oh,
Yes, she does.
Me? I do. I've got
Yeah.
Bristol says, Kathy, please tell us you have a cat. Kathy has several cats.
Yes.
I have 4 cats. You can't see my hand, but I have 4 cats.
And they are
Technically, you
also
have
cute and have
5.
their own personalities.
Yes.
They are.
You have 5 cats, Kathy.
Yeah.
Well,
Aaron's right. You do have 5 cats.
I know. I don't count him.
She's like, I don't count them. I just love on them and feed them. That's it.
Yeah. She does. She
I
does.
love animals. I'm very much an animal person. So
Yes.
Yes. Aaron or Kathy, you guys have resolutions?
Yeah, Kathy, ride my horse more. Be
Mhm.
more in tune with my horse.
And I'll
There you
tell you
go.
what, there's a lot to that, riding your horse, because that means you need to be in better physical shape than I am right now. And so
Mhm.
part of my resolution that goes along with ride my horse.
Yeah,
Let's get
I'm not.
healthy, Kathy. Let's get
Yeah.
healthy.
I'll be healthy, but I'm not going to put myself under the pressure of saying I'm going on a diet.
There
No,
you go.
no,
It just
no,
doesn't happen.
no.
There you go. There you
Yes,
go.
it
Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in, and we will see everybody next year.
Yes.
Thank you for
And just to
Happy
let
New Year,
everybody know,
Bye-bye.
just to let everybody know that all shows on the porch will be scheduled as normal. So there will be a show on Monday night, and the rest of the week is still the same. So make sure
Do
you
want to
tune in
run
Monday
through them
night.
all real quick? Do you want to run through them all real quick?
Yes, absolutely. Monday night at 7 p.m., which will be changing to 8 p.m. January 15th. But as of right now, this coming Monday, 7 p.m., Texas Front Porch. That's, of course, 7 p.m. Central. Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central, it is Bigfoot Michigan Rob with Beyond BMR. On Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, it's Donnie Cho Says Stuff. At 8 o'clock, it is Barton Nunnelly and the Inhumanoids. Make sure you tune in for that with his lovely wife, Letitia. On I forgot you, Krista, again. She's on with BMR on Tuesday nights. Make sure you tune in. Okay, on Thursdays Thursdays at 12 p.m. Central, it's Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. And right now, his co-host is Tex, but you might see me in there a couple times. Who knows? Thursday nights, of course, it's Blondes and Booze at 8 p.m. Same again on Friday at 8 p.m. Central. It's Blondes, Booze, and the Woo. And on Saturday at 2 p.m. Central, Tex and Daniel Devo released their newest episode of Infamous Minds.
Awesome. There you go. So we will see everybody next year. We hope everybody has a good and safe, happy new year. And yeah, until next week.
See you next year.
Y'all. Good
Bye.
night.
Night. Happy New Year.